Hello, good evening, and welcome back finally to In the Know, brought to you by the Racing Post and Coral on the Monday evening before the Cheltenham Festival 2022. We've been talking about this for weeks, for months, pretty much since the end of Cheltenham last year, but we are finally ready and raring to go with the finalised fields for day one. All four defending champions, in theory, turning up for the championship races this week. 14 Grade 1s to get stuck into, and hopefully a few winners along the way as well. The novice events are looking potentially a little bit better and a little bit bigger fields than we were expecting as well. So we could see some superstars retain their crowns, and we could see some future superstars lay down a challenge to future festivals and beyond. But let's not get too carried away, as we've got Tuesday to look at very shortly indeed. We're with you, of course, every single night of this week, well, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at least, previewing the races from 6:30 through till 7:30. So please join us and get in touch on that live chat as well. It is live and interactive on Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, of course, please do like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and get your selections in on that chat. And like I said, we will read it out throughout the evening. We've got 7 races to get through tomorrow, 94 runners turning up on Tuesday of Cheltenham 2022, and 25% of them are trained by Willie Mullins or Gordon Elliott. So it was 23-5 last season for the Irish. Could it get worse, possibly, for the British trainers? Well, we'll soon find out. And in the company of some very fine minds as well. Very fine minds who probably, quite frankly, a bit sick and tired of trying to pick out winners and value in these markets. Let's get those races off, and those anti-post bets and those tickets ready and raring to go as well. So let's see whether the opinions have changed for our panel, starting off with the one and only Mr. Graeme Rodway, who is sat to my left. Absolutely buzzing, aren't you, mate? I mean, I can feel it.
Do I look it?
I think you do look it, yeah.
Good. Yeah, no, I am really excited, Ross. It's great to be finally there, isn't it? You know, when you get to this stage, you've looked at all the races 10 times over, and now all the talking is done and all the action is to come.
I will say there isn't, not all the talking is done. We've got another hour of
No,
talking
that's true.
first.
Yeah, there's still time, isn't there?
There is.
Just for a little bit more talk.
Yeah, a little bit more talk. And you've got the dress code as well?
Yeah, got the dress code. We're all on point tonight, aren't we?
We are indeed, yeah. Myself and Graeme Rodway in the studio, joined by Simon Clare, who will also be delivering milk tray a little bit later on with myself and Graeme. Simon, we've made it to Monday night at least, and hopefully in 4 days or maybe 5 days' time, we'll be tired but happy. A bit of profit in our pockets, not yours.
Yes, no, not our pockets. We'll share. No, I think it's great. I must admit, for all, you know, I love the Cheltenham. I love building up to and try and work out well in advance who's going to run where and maybe take a few positions. But I think more and more, I'm sure Graeme and Tom will agree. Actually, there's nothing like once you actually see the decks and start to be able to, and you know the ground and all those horses you weren't sure where they were going to go. So I've really enjoyed looking at tomorrow's card, actually, particularly the handicaps, actually. I think they're terrific handicaps. And, I know people might say some of the novice events have come up a bit light, although the Brown Advisory is a good field. I think the handicaps this year, there's the whole aspect of, has the handicapper been tough on the Irish, lenient on the British? The betting market say not, if the betting market is to be believed. But I think there's still an awful lot of talking left, Graeme.
Yeah.
We've done a lot, but I think there's more to come.
Yeah, absolutely, which is good because no one wants to watch 55 minutes of silence, do they? Or maybe you do, I don't know. It might have got to that point, quite frankly. But Graeme Rodway and Simon Clare in the studio. And once again, ready and raring to go. Tom Segal is, again, he's been studying these races since January the 1st, pretty much, and he's still managed to find fresh angles for the paper tomorrow. What a man you are, Tom.
Thank you very much.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, very good, thanks. How are you guys? You all right?
Yeah, I think we're all right. Yeah. We just want to get stuck into it, Tom.
Good. So do I. I can't wait for it to start. Really looking forward to it.
Okay, and again there was this talk of fields and Irish beating that and Irish beating this and how many winners and so on and so forth. But when it comes down to it, Tom, you just want winners in the races, don't you?
Yeah, that's my job. Try and find a few winners. Looks like field's held up really well. I'm not sure the Turners is going to on Thursday. I think there might be 3 or 4 runners, but really looking forward to it. great stuff tomorrow. As Simon said, the handicaps are really competitive, 20 full fields, and as you'd expect, and good betting opportunities for people out there.
Lovely stuff. Hello to everyone at home as well. Patrick, Daniel Brennan, Tiernan Murray, Damon Moffat has got in touch. Stevens 99, Dan A. Everyone's pretty much involved. Kieran Catterton, hello to you. Devo has just laid 1 to 4 that I'll be wearing a check shirt. A loser again there, Devo. Not sure I brought any for the week, so you better get those markets rearranged as we start to get into to day one. Then before we do, I'm just going to ask you very quickly the opinions you've had up to this point. How are we feeling? Are they intact, or have you got to seeing the decks the first couple of days and thought, well, you know what, I might have got a bit carried away, or I've really played some races badly?
Always leave a little bit of space for manoeuvre on the day before. I always think I like to have a nice fresh look on when you get the decks through, because they're different races, aren't they? When you see suddenly, on Wednesday, for example, Long Press is now going for the Brown Advisory. I don't think many people would have called that. Dysart Dynamo's running in the Supreme, and suddenly these races that you thought were going to have a certain complexion a long way out suddenly change near the day, and I think it's quite healthy to have a fresh look. Yeah, it's quite hard though, isn't it? Sometimes you literally kind of force yourself to go, do I think that, or did I think that in January?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, it's to some extent, my views, think back to the first of the preview programs, which I think was the start of February. It's amazing how you look at a race like the Arkle. I was a Blue Lord fan then.
Yeah.
I'm now completely switched off him, and it's tough. I'm sure people watching will feel the same. They had firm convictions about maybe Constitution Hill, and now they've backed off it and are starting to lean to. It's that kind of Cheltenham, really. You're listening to a lot, you're reading a lot in the papers, you're reading the Racing Post Bible, and but you're allowed to, aren't you? You're allowed to. It's only whether you've taken financial positions that you kind of can't really work around. So that's the lesson is always to get involved, but not too involved, because you want to leave yourself room to move, as Graeme said.
Yeah, you're allowed to change your mind. A wise man once said, "Your perfectionism or hypocrisy, they're your two options in life, pretty much." So let's get stuck into the first race of the day then, or let's not. Let's have a look at the Racing Post Members Club, in fact, because if you aren't already a member and you want to get involved, £9.99 for the first month of the Racing Post Members Club. If you sign up now, of course, that will take you all the way through to Aintree as well. So get involved on that Racing Post Members Club offer. As we get involved in the Supreme Novices Hurdle 2022, we were already starting to salivate about this race weeks and months in advance. A slight disappointment, of course, that Sir Gerhard doesn't turn up for this, as it would have been nice to see the two Mullins runners take on the two Henderson chargers, but we still do have two top-class Mullins horses, in fact, at single figures. But it's Dysart Dynamo who heads them at 9 to 4. Constitution Hill 5 to 2. John Bon at 5 to 1. Mighty Potter 11 to 2. Kilcrut at 7 to 1. And there's a jump out to bring on the night at 22s. Shall We Have One More at 66 to 1. And Silent Revolution, the outsider of the bunch, at 100 to 1. In fact, completely outsider, of course, there is JPR1 in there for the Tizard team as well. But let's get this out of the way straight off the bat and go to Tom Segal, because Tom, I mean, we've been asking you pretty much all winter what would win this race, and you thought Sir Gerhard would. He's not declared, of course. He's odds on for the Ballymore. How does that make you feel ahead of tomorrow's opener?
Oh, wicked. Brilliant. That's the first loser I've backed, isn't it? Listen, but the thing is, as you were saying, you're allowed to back more than one in a race. So, one of them's going to lose anyway. So I'm not you're not going to lose any sleep over it. That's the decision they've made. I think it's the wrong one, but we move on. And don't fancy Dysart Dynamo even. I keep calling it Dysart Diamond. Dysart Dynamo, that's the one I don't like. I think that's way too short. It does everything wrong in its races. Bulls hards. I mean, it might have looked good, but it was beating trees the other day. Be a totally different kettle of fish. No, he's the one I crossed off. I like the two Henderson horses. Interesting, like Simon was saying about prices now. I mean, it's sort of the Constitution Hill thing shows you about anti-post betting. It was 9 to 4 with Sir Gerhard in the other day. Now it's 5 to 2 with him out. So makes you sort of think that you shouldn't be betting, too far in advance. You might as well wait for the day, because you might actually get better prices. I think he's going to win, actually, Constitution Hill, and I think John Bond's the danger.
Okay, Constitution Hill is a 5 to 2 shot. Of course, Tolworth winner versus Moscow Flyer winner. That Haydock race, of course, they're up Cinders and Ashes that John Bond won a few years ago. We've also got Mighty Potter as well, who's a Grade 1 winner. Kilcrut's a Grade 1 winner in Bumper Company as well. And this time last year, you would have imagined Kilcrut and Sir Gerhard might well have been battling out favouritism for this. So even though Sir Gerhard doesn't run, it's still an absolute cracker, Graeme.
Oh yeah, it's a great race, isn't it? I've been looking forward to this one has won the races of the festival, really, and it comes up first. And I think Dysart Dynamo is a really exciting horse. I think he's got loads of natural ability. I think Tom's right in that he does a lot of things wrong. I think they're running here possibly because of the weather forecast. Obviously, I know there is some rain for Wednesday, but it is meant to generally be dry, isn't it? I think in recent years you can set your watch by it being fairly soft for the first race. That's certainly been the case in the last 4 or 5 years. I think they will have put plenty of water on, and I think that Willie Mullins is thinking this all stays well, and we'll go out and try and grind this out from the front and try and run the finish out of the likes of Constitution Hill.
I mean, if Dysart Dynamo is a horse who struggled to settle a little bit, an extra 5 furlongs would have made that a little bit more contentious, wouldn't it? So, do you think they will make the pace with Dysart Dynamo?
Yeah, I think they'll make the pace with Dysart Dynamo. I think Kilcruit will be on his tail. I think the 2 Willie Mullins runners, and I think the 2 Henderson runners will wait to pounce and try and beat them for a turn of foot. And I think the Constitution Hill will beat them for a turn of foot. I think he is the speed horse in the race. I think he's got far too much speed for the likes of Dysart Dynamo. I think John Bond's a really exciting prospect, but I do think he's going to be better over fences in time.
He's a bit of a Chantry House, I feel, in the back of my mind almost. Maybe it'd be a nice novice chaser in time.
Oh, he jumps great, doesn't he? And he travels great, but I'm not sure he's got that push button acceleration. We know that Constitution Hill's got it. His sectional times at Sandown twice this season have been superb, and I think that he'll win this.
Okay. Tom, just going to come back to you. Kilcruit, are we, again, we've got another potentially decent Mullins horse. What's your opinion on him?
No, I like him. I like him a lot. They're very keen on him, aren't they? Patrick Mullins has been, brilliant in his praise of him over the last few days. Yeah, I like him. I just think Constitution Hill and John Bond is becoming a big price for him. I know Graeme thinks he's might be better a chaser, and he might be, but I like horses that are really strong at the finish in their races for the Supreme. And every time he runs, he looks to be going better at the line than anywhere else. I wondered if the race if they go really hard, it might set it up for him because it will allow him to settle better and finish better. So I certainly wouldn't rule out him. Kilcruit, I do like. 7-1's about right on his hurdles form, isn't it? I mean, if you go back to his bumper form, then he's got a better chance than that, hasn't he? But on his hurdles form so far, he's a bit behind the others. I think that could all change tomorrow.
David Wallace has got in touch. Thanks for watching, David. He says, "What's the panel's opinion on Bring on the Night each way for the Mullins team's course? Bring on the Night. I mean, 22-1, a bit of a flyer." In terms of the market, what would he have been a few weeks ago?
He'd have been a bigger price. I mean, I suppose we never take too much chance. With so many Mullins horses entered for all the novices, and they're all look unexposed and potentially quite nice. So I don't think he's ever been a huge price, but he certainly now he's been one of the 3 Mullins running of this. He's shortened into 22-1. Very likely race, just the one run. I mean, not many horses have won this race off the back of just the one start, but. He has won this race, I think, at 50-1 with the Bazien Willie Mullins. In many of the races, actually, Willie Mullins has a great record, but not necessarily with the favourites, but with the second, third, and even big price winners. So it's not inconceivable, particularly in a small field. But the front of the market looks really strong. I think. I think the Irish factor and the Mullins factor is going to have a profound impact on this market. Dysart Dynamo is going to go off favourite. I'm sure of it. Mullins has won this race. Is it 5 times in 10 years? This horse won the same races with Latour and Duvan and Min.
And did a better RPR than all of them,
actually. Is that right?
In that race as well.
Ross, you've out-researched me. So I think that's where the focus. But Nikki Henderson, I don't think, had a runner in the novice events last year. He's got 2 here. He knows he's got a good record on this race as well. And I don't know about you, I always felt that although he's got running the 2, he's always spoken glowingly about Constitution Hill, the way he does emotionally about the horses he really loves, which is not to decry John Bon.
No, but of course, when Shishkin and Chantry House were in that same race as well. And you get the feeling it's a similar, you get the feeling Constitution Hill's the Shishkin. And
I do too, and I think the market is swayed in the Irish favour because of 23-5, because of Willie Mullins, because of Paul Townend, and I think Constitution Hill could drift. He could be 3-1 tomorrow. And I think it's one of those, you feel like the British trained horses could get off to a good start on day one, and I think this is where it's worth backing them because I think you're probably getting a value play.
Okay, very well. John Bond is a 5-1 shot. Constitution Hill is at 5-2. I can't believe you've all gone against Dysart Dynamo, if I'm honest. I mean, I kind of know what you mean in that he does everything wrong, but I've got him top on speed figures on the bridle at Punchestown last time out. He's got Tom was saying in previews as well, he's a keen goer but with a bit of a staying pedigree. He's won the right race and like I said, did a better performance than Vautour, than Min, than Duvan. I don't know. And also, Willie Mullins Supreme Novices front runners who look a little bit awkward. Your Classical Dreams, your Champagne Fevers. I mean, everyone will be like, oh, he's there to be shot at. And I think he'll just keep going.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, he did it with Champagne Fever, didn't he? Who made all. There was another one that
Classical Dream made all, yeah.
Classical Dream, and there was another one alongside Champagne Fever as well. So it is the way that he wins this Supreme. He throws in these sorts of horses, sends them out from the front, and they don't see another rival. But I don't think that any of those probably came up against horses of the class of Constitution Hill. A lot of those horses,
well,
they
to be
were
fair,
good,
I mean,
weren't they? But
Min
they
ran
weren't
into Altior, so it could be a similar.
Yeah, Min ran into Alta. They were good, weren't they? Some of those winners, but they weren't outstanding. Like your Champagne Fever, Duvan was obviously very good, but your Champagne Fevers and your Classical Dreams. I mean, I think to win this race here, you're going to need a real outstanding novice.
Yeah.
Just so I noticed actually, the last 3 winners of this race, Appreciate It, Fancy for the Chapman Hurdle, Shishkin, favourite for the Champion Chase, Classical Dream, second or third favourite for the State Hurdle. But the last 3 winners of the Supreme are running in championship races and Fancy for them.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, you could have the Champion Hurdle, the Champion Chase, and the Stayers Hurdle.
All won by previous Supreme winners, which just shows. And of course, looking back, Altior, Duvan, but it is such a quality race. Anyway, this year's looks an absolute stellar start.
It does indeed. Okay, well, fair enough. What's first winner of the day for you, Tom?
First thing to say, if Dysart Diamond is as good as Min or Votor, I'll come in the studio, and that is saying something. I think Constitution Hills will win and John Bond will be second.
Okay, very well. I'm gonna clip that out, and again, we'll see how it goes. It could go either way.
Dysart Diamond, anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
I've got 5 years running for me.
Yeah, that is true. The advantage of getting the name slightly wrong, Tom, is you can say, I didn't say that. What are you talking about?
I know, exactly. I get the name wrong every time.
Okay, Graeme?
Yeah, I'm with Constitution Hill.
Okay. Simon?
Price boost. Nikki Henderson to train the winner was 11 to 10. He's 6 to 4 to train the winner. Obviously got the 2 chances. And anything other than a Mullins or a Henderson winner is 6 to 1, which doesn't sound too attractive. I suppose Mighty Potter has been back, to be fair. He's 11 to 2. And my fancy is Constitution Hill.
Okay, very well. And I will go with Dysart Dynamo then at 9 to 4 again. There is that contrary part of my brain. Everyone disagrees with me. I kind of want to have more on. But it's not a bad betting angle, to be fair, is it? What else? We've got Constitution Hill is a monster, says Bubba 1407. Damon says, agree, Ross. Dysart Dynamo has done nothing wrong, but neither has Constitution Hill. And Judas P says, John Bond, put your so-and-sos on it. Thank you for that, Judas. We will read your full comments out. With those language filters switched on. So the Supreme Novices Hurdle then, hopefully it will live up to the billing tomorrow for the opening race. If the Supreme has been talked about throughout the winter as being an absolute corker, I think it's fair to say that we don't have necessarily an obvious superstar in the Arkle, but we do have an absolutely cracking lineup and better than potentially we were expecting, with a few flown in, the likes of Gabinacco and Brave Shashka, and maybe even Corsa Bleem, who could have gone elsewhere. So let's have a look at the odds for tomorrow's Arkle then. And Edward Stone was a fairly solid 9 to 4 favourite, but because of a few horses challenging him, he's now 11 to 4. Riviere de Tel is 4 to 1. Blue Lord is 4 to 1. Horton Galore is 13 to 2. Saint Sam at 9 to 1. Curse of Bleem 14s with Magic Days. 20 to 1 Gabinacco, and like I said, the other horses involved here, Brave Shashka, Warlord and Red Rookie, also teaming up to try and bring down a few of those fancied Irish challengers. But again, if Constitution Hill does win the Supreme, Graeme, obviously British fortunes could be bolstered by Edward Stone, who comes in here with an obvious favourite's chance. Yes, he's 8 years old. Yes, he's a bit more exposed than these, but he's done absolutely nothing wrong, and he's clearly the one to beat.
Yeah, I think he'll win this, Ross. I think that he is underrated for some reason. Maybe because he wasn't an absolute top class hurdler. He obviously was a decent hurdler, but not grade 1 class. But he's a much better chaser, isn't he? We've seen that time and time again. And what I like about him, he's totally uncomplicated, isn't he? He just comes straight out, jumps well, travels well. You can put him anywhere in a race, don't matter. He finishes well, seems to handle any ground. You can throw anything at him.
Left-handed, flat track.
Yeah, don't matter. He reminds me of Voipur Estedes, who was trained by the same trainer, and just kept running big races, time after time. Won an Arkle, I think. Certainly won a champion chase, didn't he? He was no match for an absolute superstar in the end, masterminded. And it might turn out that Edward Stone isn't a match for Shishkin and the likes next year. But there ain't no Shishkins or that in this race, is there? And we're looking at Blue Lords and Riviere de Tels and Horton Colours. I don't think any of those would be even close to what Edward Stone has achieved. And amazing, isn't it? He's drifting out to quite a good price. I thought about a week and a half ago he might go off 7-4, 6-4. We're looking at about 11-4.
Yeah, I think that's because he's just been in the shop window all winter, though, hasn't he? So if people have fancied him now, they're going to go, well, maybe even if you've had a few tickets on him, you might back something else against
Happens
him.
at these big meetings.
Yeah. I mean, Shishkin went off, 6-1, for example?
Yeah, he was a big drifter on the day, wasn't he, Shishkin, for the Supreme Novices Hurdle. He was like favourite for that race. He ended up going off, 6. So I think the same thing's happening with Edward Stone here. But I just think he is the most solid horse running tomorrow. Like, if you want to go there and back a favourite that you know is going to run to a level, and he is going to run to a level, he's going to run a RPR 164. You can almost set your clock by him. And I don't think there's many in this that can get to 164. And if he runs to 164, I think he'll win.
Okay, very well. Edward Stone then 11-4 favourite for the Arkle. Tom, the problem is, of course, this is a novice chase, and it's all well and good setting a level, but horses come in and improve for a championship pace all the time. So he does have horses who could improve half a stone and give him a race. Is there anything in there that could do that from your study?
Yeah, of course there is. I mean, it's an Arkle after all. First thing I'd say is that I find it hilarious that people say Edward Stone wasn't a good hurdler. He was a lot better hurdler than Riviere de Tell. He was a lot better hurdler than St. Sam. He was a lot better hurdler than all of those. You know, he was rated 150, probably could have been rated 100 higher than that. And he's a lot better chaser. So I agree with Graeme. I think he's absolutely rock solid. I think he would be capable of competing with most Arkles. Obviously, Shishkin Les Arcel or Altior Les Arkle, he would be as good as any of the others. I think he's an absolute top class horse, and I hope he wins. It's a novice chase, though. There's going to be plenty of pace on. The one I like at the price is Magic Days, the mare for Henry de Bromhead. Drier the ground, the better for her, I think. She ran an amazing race in the Mare's Hurdle last year. Go back and watch it. She pulled too hard, did everything wrong. She was miles clear at halfway, looked at the top of the hill like she'd have to finish out the frame. Stayed on really well to finish second. The two that beat her were both last but one coming all the way round. So the pace was really hot. She stayed on really well. And what I most like about her was her jumping on her second start. She was mustard. Never touched a twig. If she gets out in front and can settle a little bit better than she did last time, it'll take a really good one to get her back. To give her £7 will be a lot for any horse, even Edward Stone. So I like her. I'm a bit like Simon. I liked Blue Lod before he ran at Leopardstown. Don't like him now. Just think Riviere de Tel's all right. She's all right. You know, she did all right. She probably would have beaten Blue Lord. Is that going to be good enough? Don't know. St. Sam, he's all right too. Autor Color's the one of the Mullins that's got a bit of potential, but I don't think they're anything to write home about. I think it's between Edward Stone and Magic Days myself. I'm hoping the mare wins, but because she's a bigger price, but in my head says Edward Stone's going to be really hard to beat.
Okay, Edward Stone is an 11-4 shot. Then Magic Days is a 14-1 shot. You were saying about the quality of Edward Stone. The one horse who was a better hurdler than Edward Stone we haven't mentioned, and that's Course Sublime, who was rated 155 at his peak, went off 12-1 for Epatant's Champion Hurdle, and gave Fernie Hollow an absolute fright on Chase debut. If I'm honest, I think Keith Donoghue kind of decided he wasn't going to beat Fernie Hollow and Riviere de Tell at his second start. I thought, it's a grade one. It had an air of the race that they've gone. They've quickened off without me. It's fine. We'll win next time out and go to Cheltenham, perhaps. I think they might have thought they were going to go for the Grand Annual, and then Fernie Hollow is ruled out, and suddenly the one horse they can't beat doesn't turn up. It's a shocking race at Gora last time out, but it's about getting that win and coming into this race. So if you'd have backed the best hurdler coming into an Arkle, you'd have done very, very well indeed. So, Course Sublime, when he finished second in the Triumph Hurdle, at the bottom of the hill, he was on the bridle and he got outstayed by Pentland Hills. But the first two were miles clear. He'll definitely, if he doesn't trade a very short price in running and run a massive race at 14-1, I'll be quite surprised, I think.
You like him, don't you, Ross?
A little
great
bit.
monologue, wasn't it? That was like Tom Cruise in A Few Good Men. No, Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. It was fantastic.
It's my one decent
Prize for the best
anti-post
case.
position. Yeah, there you go.
Goes to Ross.
There you go.
Thank
you.
Very interesting this, right? There have been the last 10 years, 7 winning favourites. All of them odds on, top horses. In the 3 years favourite didn't win, it was a race like this. They were like 3-1, 11-4. For example, we'd put the kettle on one. I can't remember who was favourite that day, but I think it was about 11-4 shot, and that was a mare trained by Henry de Bromhead, the Magic Days
Notebook,
angle.
I think was it?
Maybe a Notebook, exactly.
Yeah,
So that was the Tom's Fancy, Curse Sublime, similar sort of your price. Western Warhorse beat Champagne Fever. I think Champagne Fever was an 11-4 favourite. So it looks that sort of race because there's only about £7 or £8 between Edwardstone and many of the others on official ratings. Better ground, championship race. I mean, I'd love Edwardstone to win. I think Alan King's got some extraordinary bad recent Cheltenham Festival winners. There have been a number of runners.
Was it Uxexandre, the last one, was it?
Yeah, and he's had a lot of runners. I think it's 80 odd. I was listening to another podcast, not as good as this one, and there was a stat like that being thrown around, which is don't know
Impossible, Simon. Impossible.
Impossible, exactly. But I think this is a really good Arkle. I'd love Edwardstone to win. I think Halton Coloured, the fact he's got a 152 official rating and only ever had 5 lifetime starts over hurdle and fence is extraordinary, and he fell last time. But that isn't exactly a perfect preparation for an Arkle. So in terms of fancies, I'm going to stick with Edwardstone because I think he's the best. I want him to win, but I think it's a good Arkle, and I think looking for some value, the stats say you wouldn't be wrong to have a crack at maybe trying to get a boil over here.
Okay, very well. Have we got a prize boost?
I should mention my prize boost.
Yeah.
You threw me with your big monologue.
That's all right.
We're going the 5th, 1, 2, 3, 4 in this, despite the 11 runners. I should also point out, my traders remind me, that unlike some firms, we still offer best odds guaranteed even when we're doing the extra place races. And best odds guaranteed is available now, whereas some firms go from the morning. Coral, it's best odds guaranteed from deck stage. So if you're having a flutter now, take a price. It is with BOG. And price boosts, an English trained winner is 9-4 from 15-8. So that's Edwardstone plus, who else is in there? Warlord, Brave Siaska. And Willie Mullins to train the winner was 11-8. It's now 7-4. He's obviously got the 3 chances.
Okay, there we go. But what is the play in the Arkle from our pundits? Tom?
I've backed Magic Days, Ross.
Very well, Magic Days it is. Graham?
With Edwardstone, Ross.
Edwardstone it is. Simon?
Yeah, me with Edwardstone.
Okay, and can you guess what I've backed?
I think it's Curse Sublime.
It might be Curse Sublime, yeah. Although I am going to have just a little bit on Brave Shashka, just because I felt...
You love him, don't you?
I do think there's something there. There's something there. And I feel like he got at Warwick last time out. It was the first try in that kind of race, and he kind of went, oh, hang on a minute. He got kind of taken on for the lead, taken out of his comfort zone. I don't think Venetia Williams would be bothering if they didn't think, OK, we can improve again here.
I did look at him because, it was that Western Warhorse angle. It has thrown out some big price winners. And the fact that he could be running in the Grand Annual, but he's come here, I think it says something that they expect him to be a big improver on that rating and that run.
OK, there we go. There's the Arkle then previewed for you. Good luck to everyone at home who's taken decent angles on that. Mark McLaren says, I've backed Edwardstone at 33-1 in December. There you go. Mark McLaren. I mean, fair play. End the show now. If that's not the best anti-post ticket flying
wait till
about.
after the race.
Yeah.
It's a really good anti-post ticket if it wins.
Yeah. Well...
Is it?
Let's get into that afterwards.
Well, it's a forgettable one if you still lose.
But none of them has done it, hasn't he? That's a good effort. Well done.
Okay, sorry.
You can't eat value and all that. But let's move on to the ultimate handicap chase then. A race that the Irish don't actually win very often, but they do have the favourite this year in the shape of Fleur at 7-1. Does he know at 8-1? Death Duty 10-1. Our Power at 11-1. Korak Rambler at 11s as well. Fantastic Ass is 12s. T-Clip at 12s. Noble Yates is 12-1. Plenty of other horses again in here. Fullback Ben Dundee in those Curse Sublime Silks. Oscar Elite, who of course was placed in Grade 1 company. Discordantly, who ran a good race in this contest last season, would all have a bit of a squeak as well. But I'll come over to you, Tom, for your idea of the Ultima winner or the Ultima value. Again, it can be quite a difficult race to get involved. It's one of those classic Cheltenham handicap chases that you have a 20-runner field and about 3 or 4 are only ever involved.
Yeah, 24 runners, isn't it? It's really hard luck. I mean, people always say, oh, so many people who say, I've got a good thing in this and a good thing in that. I mean, luck's going to play such a massive part in this. And there's nothing you can do. You might be on the right one, you might be on the wrong one. People don't know what's going to win. We can give our best advice. For me, I wasn't sure I was going to tip Death Duty or back Death Duty 2 days ago when he was 6-1. But when he hit 12-1 this afternoon, I did think he was becoming a backable price. He's the only horse trained in Britain that has a lower handicap mark than is one in Ireland. I thought he was really impressive in the Punchestown trial. I know it didn't work out well yesterday when a couple of the horses behind him didn't run so good in the Leinster National, but he ran a cracker in the Paddy Power at the start of the season on his first run for ages, when he was fifth off a massive break when he wasn't fancied. I just think he's a good horse, and I think he's back. He's refound his mojo. So I thought he was definitely a player at 10-1. I know Gordon Elliott's quite sweet on him. The other one I like is Our Power. I just Simon's going to be pleased with me now. The Coral Trophy used to be the Racing Post Trophy. You see what I did there? I used to have a great record in finding good horses. Now I don't know how good the race this was this year, but Our Power was a massive eye catcher. I mean, he must have got shuffled back to last, not once, not twice, maybe 3 times. Charlie Deutsch, who I think is one of the best jockeys around, especially over fences, didn't have his best day. He'd admit it. Everyone admit it. And then he came flying around the outside and looked like he might challenge Kitty's Light for second, and then sort of propped on landing at the last, lost his position again, and then still stayed on to be third. That was his first try at 3 miles. I think he'll love the trip. Got some Cheltenham form. 10 stone. I just thought he had a lot going for him. I'm a massive fan of Sam Thomas as well. So those were my 2, Death Duty and Our Power. I like Fleur as a horse. He was third to Galopin and Langadan in the Martin Pipe. I'm very worried about his jumping. I really am worried about his jumping. Does he know he's clearly got a chance to, and I know Kim Bailey targets his race, but don't win it. They all come second, third or fourth. So I think he's plenty short enough too. I like Death Duty and Our Power, although I see Our Power is now a lot shorter than it was about 2 hours ago.
Yeah, back in from about. What did you put him up at Tom?
Who?
Our Power. What was he when you put him up?
I've no idea because I don't take prices anymore. He was
I see.
This morning he was about 16-20-1.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Our Power, who does wear cheek pieces as well, and that's the angle for this. In the last 10 years, Graeme, 9 of the last 10 wore some sort of headgear, which tells you a lot about the type of horses that are coming into this. A lot of it's not necessarily exposed horses, but who haven't quite found their graded level, have got a little bit of experience. They've got cheek pieces or a visor or blinkers on to just bring out a little bit extra, and it works on the day.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time looking at this race. I thought it was a very, very, very difficult race. I thought Does He Know might belt too many not to win this, and I thought Courage Rambler might be the same. He jumped a bit sketchily at Ascot last time. The one thing you can't do in the Cheltenham, I've said a million times, is jump poorly, because that's it. You end up out the back and then you end up being pulled up after a circuit. How many times have I seen it? Time and time again. I really fancy Our Power. Tom's completely wrecked the price for us, hasn't he? I backed this horse at Doncaster about 3 starts ago when he unseated or fell at the first. He just literally ran straight into the fence and fell. And then he came out and won next time at Huntingdon. It was only 3 or 4 days later, and I missed him. I couldn't believe it. He ran in that race at Kempton. Tom's already told you exactly what happened, and he got it spot on. I mean, you won't see him more. Well, I can't even sound lucky. I mean, it just literally got caught behind a wall of horses everywhere he went. And in a jump race, it was insane. Flew up the hill as his first run over 3 miles, massively unexposed, lightweight, huge chance, Our Power. The other one I thought had a chance is T-Clipper for Tom Lacey. I was at Huntingdon last Sunday. Tom Lacey was firing in winners left, right and centre there. He's absolutely flying at the moment. So is that rider, Stan Shepherd.
Yeah.
Can't do anything wrong. And this horse has got a huge chance on the run at Chepstow, first time out, when he was very, very impressive. The problem is he's run 2 abysmal races since, been beaten miles, and he's had wind surgery, a long time off, and I think he's sticking pieces on him, is he? Something like that, Ross. Yeah. So that might fit your theory, right?
First time wind up, first time cheap pieces.
No, I looked at the stats. The horse is coming off wind ups at Cheltenham. It's not very good. It's on like 7%. Yeah. So you don't really
How
want
many
to
of
be
them are wearing
coming
first time cheap pieces?
I don't know about that. But if he was to run like he did at Chepstow, he'd have a chance to T-Clipper. But I really fancy Our Power.
Yeah. We've got a social comment. Trevor Meeks says, if Frodon is fit, he will beat this lot. Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not even on the page. What a world we are living in, where we've got the Ultimate at the Cheltenham Festival, and Frodon is not even on the first page of the betting.
And it makes the race. I mean, fantastic he's running. You know, a hugely popular horse, ridden by Bryony. You know, she gets cheered every time she's announced on the, on the tannoy, and a classy horse rated 164 at the top of the weights. Loads of horses running off low weights. It's, this is a proper handicap. Lost in translation, Gold Cup placed, running off 155. Froden's a 14-1 chance, Lost in Translation 20. We're betting 6 places of 50 odds each way, as you'd expect for such a competitive race. In terms of the Coral Ambassadors, Tom Scood was quite sweet on Jericho Roque. I mean, he's got to improve a bit. They think he's got it in him. I mean, he's second to Pat's Fancy. I think Pat's Fancy beat him off 126. He's shot up the weight since. And he's running off that featherweight to 10 stone. Of course, Tom's won the race twice before with Un Temps pour Tout carrying a lot more weight, it's got to be said.
Owned by the same
connections. The Tizards in good form. They're very excited that Oscar Elite got in, because they always wanted to run this rather than the Kim Muir. Obviously on that Albert Bartlett run, nothing's gone his way. It's been a sort of a write-off season, but he's well handicapped and he's in really good form at home. And I think Lost in Translation is interesting. He's down to 155. He was placed in the Gold Cup 2 years ago. And on that occasion, he came off a pulled-up run in the King George. He's boom or bust this horse, there's no question. But he does run well at Cheltenham. He loves better ground. I think he's going to get it. It's going to be decent compared to what he's running in. And he could run well.
And what's he got?
And he's not first-time pieces. He's got cheek pieces on.
Yeah,
is that a tongue-tied?
First-time cheap pieces. So
they're all the gears coming on. So
all
I mean, the
on.
trouble is, you look at every single horse. I mean, Death Duty, as Tom said, you look at him, he's interesting. That's the one horse Gordon Elliott thought was well handicapped. Fleur has been really well backed. I mean, the ones for money are Fleur, Jericho Roque, Our Power, thanks to Tom, and T Clipper, been backed into 12 from 20 to 1. So it's just one of those races you get drawn in. You can't help it. You probably end up having 2 or 3 bets, maybe 4. And then realise that you haven't backed about 5, which you half fancy. So, I mean, I'm an Our Power fan, partly because he ran so well in our new race, the Coral Trophy, the old race post Chase, and I think he's got a good chance, fits the profile. But I will be backing Lost in Translation as well, and probably will get drawn into a little bit on Jericho Roque with Tom Scood on board as well.
Okay, very well. Just a few things to pick up there. This young man here, who
I recognise him.
Can you see that? Does it look familiar? Look familiar?
How old is that photo?
A young up and comer named Graeme Rodway has been busting some festival myths. Top weights in handicaps, Graeme. Frodon, of course, a little bit forgotten about in the betting, but not a bad angle.
No, it's not a bad angle. If you backed every top weight in handicaps, you'd have won, I think, over the last 4 or 5 years. But it's got a lot on his plate, hasn't he? Frodon here, I think.
He has. Lost in Translation, of course, but Frodon is £5 lower than his rating this time last year. Lost in Translation is £14 lower than his rating last year. And, bearing in mind they were both rated very similar, Lost in Translation looks an incredibly well handicapped horse. I thought he was very interesting. I thought T Clipper was very interesting. I mean, you ran a blinder in last year's Coral Cup. Yes. I know the wind up's a problem, but obviously they had a double today from 2 runners at Taunton. They, of course, won the Betfair Hurdle this year as well. They are in fantastic form and festival form, headgear, lightly raced, unexposed. And I do think Does He Know should be favourite, personally. I just think that Kim Bailey has found the right race for him. So you're right, instead of having a tenner on one, I think I'll be having £3.33 on 3 of them. So they're my 3 for the Ultima. But Tom, your 2 for the Ultima?
Our Power is number 1 and Death Duty is number 2.
Okay, very well. Graeme?
Yeah, I'm with Our Power as my main selection, and I like T Clipper.
Okay.
That's mad, isn't it? I'm Our Power and Lost in Translation. God, we're all Our Power. You're not going to go Our Power as well, are you?
No, I'm Lost in Translation, T Clipper and Does He Know? So there you go.
Another one?
And do you want another one?
No, I thought you were going to say. I thought you said you were going to have 4.
Oh no, I'll just have 3.
I'll
just have the 3. I'll have the 3.
3, okay.
I think in these races, I would rather take my stake that I would normally have on 1 horse and split it across 3. But that's the way. Well, you play it how you want to play it, basically. For the Ultima on day 1, race 3. Let's move on then to the feature race of the first day of Cheltenham 2022. And many people will be having Honeysuckle top of the banker list this week, but she has to face a couple of new names who she may well have to improve to beat. Of course, Appreciate It, Chupu, and Tommy's Oscar and Adagio, quite interesting as well. But Honeysuckle is 8-13 for this year's Champion Hurdle. Appreciated is 4-1. Chupu is 9-1. Epatante 16. Zanahiyr 20s. Adagio 20s. Tommy's Oscar 33. San Noir is a 40-1 shot. And we also have Not So Sleepy and Glory and Fortune, who've both been placed in Grade 1 events this winter, but are huge prizes for the Champion Hurdle, which tells us all we need to know about how popular Honeysuckle is.
Yeah, well, if she turns up on her best form, Ross, she's going to win, isn't she? There's no doubt about it. She's by far the best of these on her best form. I think the big question mark is she on her best form? I know she's won both starts this year, but all evidence of ratings, times, suggests that she isn't as good as she was. Her RPRs this year, 160 and 159, a good £5 or £6 off her best. Last time out, I think Sir Gerhard ran a quicker time than her, carrying more weight at Leopardstown. Yes, she won. Yes, she was idling, I think, a little bit towards the finish, and it might be a bit silly to take that literally, but it is a fact. For that reason, I wouldn't want to be backing her at such a short price. I think there are good reasons to take her on. Last year, we had a similar situation after Epatante won the fight in fifth. I remember everyone saying, well, who's going to beat Epatante in the champion hurdle? She's absolutely unbeatable. But suddenly her form just dropped off a cliff quite badly. I don't think Honeysuckle's dropping off a cliff quite that badly. She's only £5 or £6 below her best. But if she's £5 or £6 below her best, she's definitely beatable. She won by 6.5 lengths last year with the £7 mares allowance, of course. I'm quite confident she's going to get beat.
Okay, very well. Well, you've dangled the bait.
Oh, who's going to beat her?
Yes.
That's
Yes,
what you want to know.
Bring it on,
yeah, I know. I fancy Tihupu for Gordon Elliott. Yeah, I think that he comes in under the radar. He gives me this feeling. Do you remember when Aspar Delaine won it? He just came in under the radar, and then suddenly, when he got his big chance, was able to take it. This horse has just had a nice, quiet prep, been slowly brought up to the race. I just think this horse is going to improve massively for the stronger race here, and I definitely think that Tihupu can beat her. Appreciate it. Obviously got a huge chance. I wouldn't be worried about the absence at all. Willie Mullins got a fantastic record with horses coming off long breaks. Fantastic. In fact, you could back them all blind and still win.
A lot of those were Corvega, I imagine. Just on the 5 or 6 of them, yeah. But they're still at Penn Hill, for example, when the stayers off a huge absence.
But for me, more worry about appreciate it than Tihupu is appreciate it good enough. I mean, yes, he was very, very good in the Supreme, but it was a very weak Supreme. I think Tihupu's a much better bet at double the odds.
Okay, very well. Appreciate it, though. Like I said, it's when it comes to stats, Willie Mullins just smashes them left, right and centre, doesn't he? Ignores what everyone else does and does what he wants. Who wins the champion hurdle? 67%, say Honeysuckle. Appreciate it, 17%. Chupu, 7%. And other, 6%. I'll come to you for this one, Simon, first, before we go over to Tom. Yeah, Honeysuckle 8 to 13. Clearly they want to beat. 14 from 14. Graeme thinks she's not coming into this necessarily on her best form. Do you think she's going to win again?
Well, I think she's clearly got a great chance because in terms of new opposition, it's appreciated we haven't seen since last year's Supreme, and of course he could do it, but it is kind of like a guesswork. If you put your money on him, you're kind of almost you're just saying I have faith in Willie Mullins. I mean, I'd say you don't know how good appreciated it really is. Beating Ballyadam and obviously Blue Lord fell. It doesn't look super strong form. Tiapu is interesting, isn't it? I mean, because at least Tiapu has run this season, has run up a sequence, didn't run in the Triumph Hurdle last year. So like Espoir Dolan is almost one of those progressive 4-year-olds into 5-year-olds where we still don't really know how good he is. So I think he's the definitely each way player, isn't it? Back him each way, maybe he can win. Epatante, her figures actually don't suggest she's that much any better this year, really, by marginal distance from last season, even though Nikki Henderson is bullish that she's somehow sort of back, and last year was an off season. But I mean, I can't see any reason why she's going to win.
Admittedly, of all the trainers who do tend to bring them back every now and
then,
then,
it is Nikki, exactly. It's just I'm not sure. I think she won a weakest champion. I think she's just a good mare, and she's just better horses came along, and so. Honeysuckle's going to be, there'll be people who will back her at those odds, but there'll be plenty who'll just look at that price to sort of perm up with Shishkin and Allaho. I think that treble is the one. There's lots of them. Sir Gerhard maybe thrown as well, maybe Facile Vega, but the Shishkin, Allaho, Honeysuckle treble is the one, I think, which people will lock onto. And she's really good, isn't she? I mean, she's owned by Kenny Alexander, who used to run Coral. He's buying lots of mares, and this is just his poster girl, isn't it? And so I kind of wanted to win. It'd be good for Rachel Blackmore. She won last year, had that incredible Cheltenham in front of no crowd. This will be a big day for her, and this is a big horse for her. So even though it wouldn't be any good for bookies, I think in some ways I'd like her to win. But I think you've got to have a crack at her because she's too short.
Okay, Honeysuckle an 8 to 13. Appreciated is 4 to 1. Since I was on this earth, Penhill, Forheen, Catchit, Isterbrack, and Hardy Eustace, only winners of festival novice hurdles to have returned to Cheltenham and won any hurdle race next year. A lot of them will go over fences, of course. Not that many actually try, but appreciate it. A fairly rare runner here in the champion hurdle. Tom, Honeysuckle 8 to 13. Appreciate it 4 to 1, and then the rest of the race is possibly wide open. Is there an angle in here for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think Honeysuckle will win, no doubt about that. I think she's miles better than these. So I think she'll win. The one I like in the without or the each way one is Samoa. I think he has been running at Leopardstown, and that's all he's ever run at since he won the county hurdle. He ran once at Punchestown, was second in a Grade 1. All his running has been at Leopardstown. Don't think he likes it. The ground there can be really weird. They've done super drain. He's got all this sort of thing. I just don't think he likes it. William Irons is quoted as saying he's back to the form that saw him won the county hurdle. And if he runs to that level, he has a chance of being second, because that was gangbusters lights out form. It was tremendous form. He won on the bridle. He could have won by 15 lengths. And he's the one horse that I think's got the star quality to run with her. I don't think he can beat her, but I think he's the one at a massive price that is capable, if he's bounced back to that county hurdle form, that could give her a fright, because I don't think any of the others can run fast enough, simple as.
That's really interesting. That horse was a single-figure price for the champion hurdle after that the following year, wasn't it? And everyone thought he was going to be progressed from county to be the next sort of coming, as it were. And he's sort of gone off the radar since. That's a fascinating tip, that.
Well, he was sent off 4-7, 10-11 and 13-8 on his next three starts the year after, beaten by, he won his first one and then got beaten by Abracadabra and Sharjah. Just a quick word to you, Tom, because you were quoted as saying, we spoke about the juvenile form from last year, and it looked pretty good last year. There's obviously a bunch of juveniles in here this year. Yeah,
the juvenile form has worked out well, hasn't it? But it's worked out well at a bit lower level, hasn't it? I mean, Zanna here we've seen, who was probably second or third best, has been fairly put in his place. Whether you think Honeysuckle was good or is out of form or not, she literally ran right clear. You went 10 lengths clear from him round the turn, didn't she? In a matter of about half a furlong. So hard to see him beating her. Tihupu, we don't know. The only thing I've got against him is it's all mud form, isn't it? Yeah. It's all in the mud. One time he ran on decent ground, he got beaten, didn't he, on his first start? It was a good horse that beat him, to be fair, Jeff Kidder, who went on to win the Boodles and a Grade 1 at Punchestown. So it's not like he can't act in the good ground. I just think he's probably going to end up a 3-mile chaser, Tihupu, and if he can beat Honeysuckle over 2 miles on good to soft ground, I'd be surprised.
Is he possibly the Goshen of this year, Tom?
I don't think he's as fast as Goshen.
I just mean in terms of like all his best performances come in really bad ground that he turns up in the spring.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a chance he might be better in it. The chance he might be one of those horses that is just, no one knows how good he is, and he could be a complete superstar. I don't think he works very well, does he? I don't think they ever thought he was going to be a champion hurdle horse by any stretch of the imagination. And he sort of creeped up on them with his last. I don't even know if they thought he was going to run him before last time. They were talking about the county hurdle and all races like that until he won that race last time. I just don't know about the form of that last run. Quilixios clearly ran 20 lengths below form. It was terrible ground that day. He loved it. He might be the one. I don't know. It's just that I expect him to be a 3-mile chaser in time. I think that's what he was bought for. So if he can win a champion hurdle, then he's an absolute monster.
Okay, very well. And I'll ignore who's going to win it and absolutely straight bat Zanna here to finish in the frame. He just runs the same race over and over again, and that is good enough to get him into the frame whilst others are trying to win their race. The Triumph didn't unfold his way last year. It was a quickener off the front, and he just keeps grinding. And I like the look of him to run on into a place with Honeysuckle, maybe winning, but yeah, I think it's a race to watch for most of those things personally. Simon, but what wins it and what's the bet?
I think Honeysuckle will probably win, but I think Tiapu is probably the one horse who's unexposed, and so you could throw a dart at him each way.
Okay, and Graeme, you tend to agree?
Yeah, I'm quite confident Tihupu can win this race.
Okay, very well. And Tom?
Good luck, Rodders. I hope you're right. I think Honeysuckle will win easily, and I think Samoa is the danger. Okay,
very well. And I will play Zanna here to sneak into the frame, and we have an impressive winner from somewhere. You got a price boost, Simon, before we move on?
Yeah, listen, if you want to, it's a way of batting Honeysuckle odds against, but she has to win the champion hurdle by further than she won the Irish champion hurdle. So over 6.5 lengths, it's 3-1 from 5-2. So a much bigger price, but she has to destroy this field.
Okay, very well. That's the champion hurdle for you then. As we move on, 3 races to go through now, starting off with the mares hurdle, of course, which could well throw up potentially the next Honeysuckle, given the race and the connections. Tell Me Something Girl is now joint favourites after being favourite pretty much all of the winter, with Queen's Brook 130 joint favourites. Those two. Stormy Island 5-1, Echoes in Rain 8-1, Burning Victory at 9-1, Mrs Milner 11-1, Heaven Help Us 11-1, Marie's Rock at 12-1. Tom, I'm hoping that maybe Simon's got an Irish trainer to win the mares hurdle price boost. 1 to 15, 16, I don't know, something like that. But either way, we're trying to differentiate lots of a similar kind of horses running in similar kinds of races. But this is one of the only races I think at the festival this week where if you have a strong opinion, you might get on the right side of it, because quite a few of these, like you said, haven't shown their full hand yet.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I thought it was the hardest race on the card myself, including the handicaps. You got 3 former festival winners from last year. Tell Me Something Girl, Mrs. Milner, Heaven Help Us. You got a Cesarewitch second. You got Echoes in Rain, who ran behind Honeysuckle last time. You got Stormy Island, who won the Railkeel, and you got Queensbrook, who everyone tells me is going to win. So basically, you got 7 or 8 up there, all Irish trained, that you could easily make a case for. I found this far too hard. When I did it a few weeks ago, I liked Burning Victory simply on her flat run in the Cesarewitch. I don't think she's as bad a jumper as people said. I wasn't that impressed with her last time, to be honest, at Punchestown. She got away from Queensbrook, and I'm not surprised Queensbrook is favourite to, excuse me, is fancied to turn the tables. Although I have to say that this disparity in price is quite staggering. I mean, clearly Queensbrook has been doing something or impressing someone for her to be joint favourite now, because all the way around it looked like Burning Victory is going to beat her miles. I still slightly prefer Burning Victory of the two, especially at the prices, but it's not a race I have any great confidence in finding the winner of. I think I wouldn't be surprised if anything won it. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if anything on that first page won it.
Yeah. So
a
couple of quid on Nada to Prada then, potentially.
Yeah, no, that's right. I'm not going for that one. But if any of those front page there won it, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think it's a really, really strong race and one of the strongest mares races that's ever been at the festival.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it is absolutely wide open on paper. And yeah, all winter I thought Tell Me Something Girl might end up being my sort of nap of the festival almost, because she was so impressive last season. I thought she's going to come out and win something impressively and turn up here a hard horse to beat. She was a bit of an eye-catcher at Leopardstown when, Leopardstown all season pretty much has been a front-runner's paradise, but that race in particular. But every time I mention her, you mention those terrible come-home fractions in the Novices last year. And we haven't seen her since then. So, yeah, it's absolutely wide open. Queensbrook, Burning Victory, even Stormy Island's bounced back to form.
Yeah, funnily enough, the deals that Tom tipped earlier in the day, Magic Days was the one who was responsible for setting those absolutely ridiculous early fractions that resulted in a really slow finish to that mare's hurdle last year.
What a good race Magic Days run then, eh, Rodders?
Well, yeah, she did. She ran very, very well to finish second. And Tell Me Something Girl just sort of picked up the pieces, didn't she? But who knows? They might go and do that again, mightn't they? Yeah. We've got Burning Victory, and then we've got Stormy Island will be up there, and there'll be loads. I agree with Tom on this one. I
Heaven
thought
Help
this
Us as well,
was
by the way.
very, very difficult. Yeah, Heaven Help Us will be there. I thought it was a very, very difficult race. I put up Burning Victory a couple of weeks ago on this show, I think it was, anti-post. That's about the price that she is, because she's drifted, because Paul Townend has jumped on Stormy Island. I thought maybe that might be the one then, because Townend's made his choice, and maybe he likes Stormy Island more than Burning Victory, but I'll be kicking myself if Burning Victory wins, of course. It's not a race I have a serious opinion on. Probably fancy Stormy Island if I had to make a pick, but I probably won't bet on it.
Okay, very well. Yeah, obviously Paul Townend has some bit of previous with Stormy Island, didn't he? Was on Benny de Deux the year that Robbie Power rode Stormy Island, and there was a bit of controversy over riding instructions. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's quite the only real surprising thing here is that neither of the two joint favourites for this Simon are trained by Willie Mullins, and it's a mares race.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, when you think of some of the short price favourites as well, they don't, often, most years, been sort of bankers in it almost, haven't there? And yet this is a really good race. I mean, 130 the field. Looking at the official ratings, they're all within £5 or £6 of each other, which is great. And the only shame, well, I suppose from UK trainers' point of view, is there's 12 horses in the race. The front 7 in the betting are Irish trained, and the bottom 5 in the betting are UK trained. We have got an In the Know special. It's the other way around from the one you wanted. We are an English trained winner of the mare's hurdle, 5-1 from 4-1.
Very well.
You get them all running for you.
God.
You get them all. You get 5 horses. It's
I thought you were going to say 50 to 1.
It can't even. I'm sure we do the maths. So it's good value, but I mean, look. I think it's you can make cases. I know Paul Keeley's very keen on Burning.
I want you to
Victory.
make cases for the 5 British runners now. That's what I want.
Well, look, Indefatigable. I think Indefatigable has run well. I think 3 festivals, been placed. Won a Martin Pipe,
yeah,
and ran 4th in this race last year. So I think Indefatigable. She's got a better chance than maybe your odds suggest. she'd be the one I'd sort of put up.
He's trying hard. He's trying hard here.
I mean, remarkably, Indefatigable won the Martin Pipe, and Roxana won this race, for example. And they both only won it because an Irish horse was miles clear at the last hurdle and fell. So that's only the British.
Good point.
The British trainers win.
You know too much, Ross Brierley. Right. Well, the horse I like though is Heaven Help Us. I mean, I've been lucky enough to work with Coral. Was it lucky enough since 1997, and we sponsored the Coral Cup since the 90s, and I've never seen a horse win the Coral Cup like she won last year. I mean, it was ludicrous. I mean, that race, it always throws up a blanket finish, a battle, 5-6 horses vying for it. I mean, I still can't quite believe what she did. And this year, it's all been a bit disappointing. But the second to Royal Kahala was a good run against a mare who loves heavy ground, and she ran in the Irish Champion Hurdle last time. So, primed for a good run, back on better ground at Cheltenham, similar sort of trip. 11-1. She's been quite well backed. I think she's the one for me.
Okay, very well. There's plenty of angles then for what looks like a wide open mare's hurdle. I thought Tell Me Something Good would be my pick all winter, and I just gradually going off her. I was going to tip or go for Queen's Brook, but again, the price is starting to get a little bit shorter. I mean, the question is, how many runners in here could finish third in a champion bumper surrounded by Fernie Hollow, Appreciate It, and Third Time Lucky? And I'm not sure that many of them would really put it up to those horses. So Queen's Brook clearly has a lot of ability, has a bit of festival form as well. I think is probably the one to beat on that. But as we said, it's an absolutely blinding edition of the Mayor's Hurdle, and we could potentially see a future champion hurdle challenger as well if something wins this impressively and decides to go for the big race next year or the year after. Two more races then on day one of the Cheltenham Festival 2022, and we're into potentially the handicap lot of the week, according to some people. Gaelic Warrior has had way too many headlines than you would have expected for a horse that hasn't even run on these shores. He's 94 favourite. The Tide Turn 7-1. Brazil is 7-1. HMS Seahorse is 9-1. Champion Green 12s. Ebasari 12, 16-1. Saint Segal and Dr. Brown Bear. Well, we'll come to you, Saint Segal. First, for this Boodles juvenile handicap hurdle. Gaelic Warrior apparently is what, a stone, 2 stone, 3 stone better than his mark, depending on who you talk to. But you're not the kind of punter to get stuck into a horse like this, are you, Tom?
If there's one horse, Ross, I hope doesn't win at the whole Cheltenham Festival, it's Gaelic Warrior. I'm no problems with anyone who's backed him, but it's just stupid, isn't it? We haven't seen the horse run in Britain, we haven't seen him run in Ireland. He's 9-4 favourite to win a 22-runner handicap at the Cheltenham Festival. That's not what we want. We want horses we want to be able to make our own decisions, make our minds up, do some work, try and solve the puzzle. That is not a puzzle. That is just inside information gone mad. But so for me, I hope he doesn't win. I think he probably will. He's trained by Willie Mullins. He says he's got a stone in hand. If he's got a stone in hand, he'll win. But 9-4, not for me. Leave that one to the people that like all the whispers and stuff. I quite like Brazil. I know he's gone up in the weights for a win at Naas last time, but he was wildly impressive. He fits my eye test, Ross. I haven't got very good eyes, as you can see by the glasses, but he fitted it perfect. I just thought he was really strong at the finish. He jumped brilliantly. It was the first time he'd been allowed to stride along. Before that, he'd been sort of catching the eyes in behind horses. I'm a big fan of his trainer, Paddy Roach. I think he's going to go right to the top. And I think Brazil is the type of horse that is going to leave his hot form miles behind in the Boodle. So I quite like him as an alternative to the Fav. Okay,
very well. Brazil then is a 7-1 shot, one of many JP McManus runners in this race, and of course in the Triumph as well. Interesting that Ikari Allen does not go for this, but goes for the Triumph on Friday. And Gaelic Warrior, of course, first horse that comes to mind was it Au Petit Swan, who won the Coral Cup back in 2015 on his British debut. Won it by a neck off a mark of 139. Paul Nicholls went off 9-1 though. So if you were taking a bit of a chance, maybe he could be better than his British mark.
Do it with a similar horse, Diego de Charmel. Didn't that come straight here? I've not run in Britain, possibly. It's going back a long way, obviously, but. When they passed the post in that Grade 1 that Vauban won at Leopardstown, I was fairly convinced that the Boodles winner would be in behind in either 3rd, 4th or 5th, whichever one decided to run. And the only one that does run is the Tide Turns, who finished 4th. And he's since finished behind Tiupu, 23 lengths behind him. But he had a tough task that day against much higher rated rivals, older, more experienced horses. Probably just a prep run as well for this. I still think that he's the most likely winner. But I've dug one out on massive price.
Okay.
I like Forever William, who is about 40 or 50 to 1. Alan King, we spoke about him earlier. Now, in years quite distant now,
Yeah.
he was quite well known for training good juvenile hurdlers.
He was, yeah.
In fact, that was his forte. This is a good juvenile hurdler that's been running in good races in Britain. Yes, in Britain, I know, and good juveniles and Britain don't necessarily always go together. But he beat Dr. TJ Eckelberg first time out. He finished behind Porticello, who's won the leading British Hopes for the Triumph next time. And then last time out, yes, he got absolutely fresh by Pied Piper at Cheltenham. But watch the race. It was a bizarre run. He was under the pump after about 2 furlongs. He didn't want to go a yard. And then suddenly just picked up the bridle coming down the hill and was right on terms turning for him. Yeah, Pied Piper booted him out the way. But if he travels with a bit more fluency in a stronger run race, I reckon Forever William could definitely run a place at a huge price. He's got visor on, so maybe that will make him travel better. Sometimes it does, doesn't it?
It does. What price?
33 to 1.
33 to 1. How many places?
We're betting 5 places, is that right? I'd better check, actually. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, there we go. 5 places, that's, which is about half as many as we're going to need, I think, potentially, if Gaelic Warrior wins. But yeah, Diego Ducharmil did win this on his first start in Britain. He'd run to an RPR on his last start of 121 in France, and he ran off 133. Gaelic Warrior has run to 129 and 132 and runs off 129.
Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But that's the argument this year, isn't it? That they've changed the way they handicap the French runners coming over here, the juveniles, and hence Gaelic Warrior potentially has plenty in hand. He's yet to win a race, of course. All his form is on soft ground, and he's never been to Cheltenham, which, to be fair, isn't a bad angle for here. If you've been to Cheltenham and you run in the Fred Winter, you don't win, basically. So it is horses who come here first time. Loads you could throw into it. A couple caught my eye a little bit. One was Champion Green. For Joseph O'Brien, who I thought was pretty impressive as well, in the same sense of Tom was saying about Brazil. Again, ran to an RPR of 123, and he's here off 125. And then a big price. And what price have we got, Simon, for Iberque de Searle?
Iberque de Searle is 33s.
Okay, I thought he was a little bit interesting. Spanish Moon is a fantastic hurdles, and in particular juvenile sire. Dennis O'Regan has ridden this horse once and managed to coax it home at Cork. I know it's been beaten by a couple of horses since. I just get the feeling the mark of 126 and Dennis back in the saddle, and given the price, I think it's worth having a crack. I
think it is. I mean, this is a race again. It's I feel like all the handicaps at Cheltenham, where there'll be people with whispers, there'll be people who are focusing on one horse, but this is a big field of unexposed horses. That, when somebody thinks they've got a stone in hand, there could be other horses with a stone in hand.
Jeff Kidder.
Well, I mean, this is the point. I mean, so even on a random level, you'd think there'd be more short price favourites winning this race. But 80 to 1 Jeff Kidder was last year.
Yeah.
There's been a 40 to 1 winner, 3 33 to 1 winners, and 2 25 to 1 winners in the last 10 years. Only one favourite, that was Band of Outlaws, to be fair, well back to 7 to 2, and then a 15 to 2 winner and a 30 to 2 winner. Everything points to trying to find, even if you're going to back a favourite, trying to find a couple of value plays here, because it's just fiercely competitive, big field. Gaelic Warrior, I'm with Tom. I just doesn't feel right that no one knows him, and yet it's all about the whisper, the rumour. See, I don't really like it when those horses win. And Brazil's been really well backed. HMS Seahorse tonight has been shortened from 9s into 12s. Mildam, I think, is interesting just because he's not a dissimilar horse, in terms of the fact he's an ex-French coming in off no run. He's 33 to 1.
And in terms of, I'll just have a look.
40 to 1, in fact,
Pedigree-wise, he's got a really good Cheltenham pedigree. Martelone is a fantastic sire at this track, and I'd rather back a horse.
He's Jamie Snowden, because it's sort of Jamie Snowden and Gavin Sheehan versus Willie Mullins, Paul Townend. It's almost being unconsidered. Now, I mean, I don't know much about Mildam, but I think Jamie Snowden seemed fairly confident. I think Jamie Snowden's the one who's saying, well, if they fancy Gaelic Warrior, then I must have a good chance, But so I think I'm going to hunt around. I mean, Brazil, the money for that's quite interesting because it feels like it might be a bit of a sort of McManus, gamble. It's quite interesting where the money's sort of coming from. So I think that could shorten. I think that could easily be, sort of 4 to 1 chance, 9 to 2 chance, 5 to 1 chance there. It'll be interesting to see whether the money actually comes from Gaelic Warrior, because it's a very short price of 9 to 4. It takes up a huge amount of the market. It only takes a few gambles elsewhere, and that could well drift out to something, double the price really. So
unless 5 favourites win.
Well, it does have a look of a day, particularly when they, but it's.
Well done, everyone, by the way. I mean, well done on talking about the Fred Winter, which is an absolute nightmare this year for that long and genuinely making sense, because as last year's race showed. It is a bit of a nightmare. But Tom, what's the dart?
Brazil for me. Brazil.
Thanks ever so much, mate. Beautifully done. Graeme, can you give your tip in a similar style?
No. Forever William each way, a big price.
Okay, yeah, fine. Simon?
Well, yeah, I'm hoping the English juvenile. I quite fancy the English horses in the Triumph Hurdle, actually. So I'm hoping Too Friendly runs well, actually, for Dan Skelton's Yard, been in great form. Highly rated flat horse, Fulton Night Salute, I think he was. And I'm going to have a few quid on Mildam. And I'm also back in Brazil. Just a segue with that. Alan Brazil, Coral is... we sponsor the TalkSport Breakfast Show, and there'll be Alan Brazil, McCoist and friends will be in the Coral Box every morning from 6 till 10. So tune in to TalkSport Radio on the way to Cheltenham, or on the way here.
And named after Alan Brazil, is it?
Well, I'm not sure it was. Alan Brazil likes to think so.
Yeah.
Maybe the country. But anyway, I'm not sure.
Probably. Or the film. Excellent film as well. And I will go with Champion Green and Iberque du Céu. There we go.
Very good.
There you go. That's how someone stepped up to the plate. Okay, let's move on then. The last race of the day is the... it's not that I constantly want to call it the 4 miler. It's the 3 mile sixer. It is, of course, the National Hunt Chase. Amateur jockeys back in the saddle this time around, and with plenty of novice chasers this week. We're running out of runners. They've all gone to the Brown Advisory, surprisingly. And it's Run Wild Fred, who heads the betting at 7-4, Statler at 9-4, Vanillier 7-2, Pat's Fancy 15-2. On the ropes does not go. Brayside is 11-1, and Beat the Bullet is 80-1. And despite the fact we've only got 6 runners here, Tom, you've taken on the front two in the betting with 2 horses in the race. Which again, if you do think they're taking up too much of the market, which you clearly do, not a bad little angle. So tell us what you've got.
Well, it's a long time ago when I did it. I did this race anti-post a few weeks ago, and I came up with Vanillier and Pat's Fancy. Luckily, for anyone, if you back the same horses as me there, you're down to 6 against you, and one of them looks like it's a no-hoper, Beat the Bullet. So looks really like a 5-runner race to me. I just thought Run Wild Fred, very good horse, done, lots of good solid runs, but he's won 1 chase out of 10. I know people say he ran really well in the Irish National, but there was some, just handicappers around him. He's not like he's an outstanding horse that you're going to think, he's going to go and run in the Gold Cup next year like a Galvin or anything. So he's 7-4. That's fair enough. That looks plenty short enough for me. Statler's got a bit more X factor about him, but he was, he's 2 from 2 over fences, beat Farouk Delaine last time. That's quite good form. I'm just a little bit. Is he really going to stay? Everyone tells me he's a certain stayer. I'm not sure about that.
I mean, last year in the Albert Bartlett, I wrote down to after that race, I thought this horse didn't get home. I think he needs a bit of a drop back, and they've gone up in trip.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought when I'm watching it. So I'm against him. I just for that reason. I mean, I think he jumps okay, but I think Vanillier's a standout horse. I mean, there's worries about his jumping. I think the fact there's only 6 runners is a really big help to him. So I think Derek O'Connor's on. The ground's fine. If you watch the Albert Bartlett last year, you cannot believe you think Statler. I mean, I know fences and hurdles are a totally different thing, but they're totally different class horses. So I'd be on. I'm hoping that Vanillier is just a horse that comes in the spring and jumps better. As I say, the six runners helps him. And Pat's Fancy is just a really strong stayer with really good solid form. He beat the pipe horse that Simon fancied for the Ultima at the start of the season. He beat Imperial Alcazar at Chepstow next time. Thought he ran a cracking race behind Brave Man's Game last time. I think he was getting a lot of weight, but the ground was too quick. He kept on really well. The figures were really good for that race. I know some people fancy Grumpy Charlie to run well in the Ultima as well. Just think he's going to run a really solid race because I think 3 mile 6 is perfect for him. I think 4 miles would have been even better. But I think 3 mile 6 is perfect for him. So those are my 2 against it. I think Brayside's got to jump a bit better as well than he did last time. So it's really not that competitive in terms of numbers. And I think the top 2 in the thing can be taken on.
Okay, very well. Vanillier is a 7-2 shot. Pat's Fancy a 15-2 shot. I mean, the thing about this race is. Since becoming a Grade 2 in 2017, no winner with less than 5 previous chase runs. Statler's incredibly inexperienced for this kind of race. He's up against Run Wild Fred and Brayside and Vanillier and Pat's Fancy. You probably had, 20-odd runs between them. He's coming here off the back of two runs over fences. He's a class angle in the race, but he's even with the small field and the drop back in 2 furlongs, it's still a bit of a brutal race, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're about to tip Statler now, aren't
better
you?
than these, isn't he, Ross?
Yeah.
Statler?
I could feel it.
Yeah, every time I watched him this season, I think, oh, he looks good. Yeah, I just said both times, I thought, oh, yeah, he looks good. Wherever he runs at Cheltenham, he'd be hard to beat. And they haven't even considered going for the Brown Advisory with him, has they? It's been this race the whole time. They're absolutely certain he's going to stay. I mean, he got, 3 mile, 1.5 furlongs last time at Nace. I don't see the trip being a problem. I think he'll win this. I think he'll win easy. I can't see Run Wild Freddy's favourite. I think Tom summed that up absolutely spot on. He's totally exposed, isn't he? He doesn't win very often. He's going to be thereabouts, but he's vulnerable to a good horse.
It's Elliott, Cod, Gigginstown, Novice Chase. It's all there's a lot of box ticks, isn't there?
Yeah, the danger, of course, is if Tom's one gets an easy lead up front like he did last year, Vanilla, and then they don't catch him. But surely he won't here, will he? It's only seven in it this time. Like you say, those stats about probably based on it being, bigger field, like you say, a more brutal race. I think it's a different race now, isn't it? It's just changed in nature, just like the Triumph Hurdle changed all those years ago.
Yeah.
That was a brutal, rough and ready race, suddenly turned into a race that all the favourites won. I think this will do the same.
Okay, very well. And the horse I fancy is a non-runner, so that clears that one up. So Simon, you get to wrap it up.
Yeah, listen, of all the races to have a non-runner, this is the one that needed it least, isn't it, ironically? And we were going to be betting 3 places, even though it was 7 runners. We now reverted to 2. So that little attempt to drum up some each-way interest was scuppered. I thought Vanilla is interesting just because obviously Gavin Cromwell came on the show, for those people who watched it, and I think that from that interview, people were backing Vanilla. I think he revealed that Derek O'Connor had been booked. Do you remember? And he shortened from 8-1 then to 7-2 now. And it's quite interesting that last year he won at 14-1 the Albert Bartlett, but he was quite well fancied, wasn't he? There was each way money for him.
There was a lot of money for him.
Yeah,
he was like 33-1 in the morning.
That's right, and obviously Gavin Cromwell had a quiet period for the last month, and suddenly I think he had a treble. Cromwell's in form, and he's got a couple of big bullets to fire. Not many, but this and Florian Porter obviously, and so of the front 3, I'd probably favour Vanilla, but. Run Wild has been by far the best backed, and even tonight he's shortened into 7-4 when him and Statler were sort of vying for favouritism. So I think he'll go off favourite, but it's a disappointing field. But a lot of people writing about it's how rubbish it is. But last year it was a really good race actually.
Yeah.
So
and the Brown Advisory is significantly better than we were expecting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think there is something cynical about it, but it's not the greatest. But look, the other thing is, from punter's point of view, if all the races were like 20 runners, it might almost be too much. The nice balance to tomorrow's cars, you've got these Poodles and Ultimate look fiercely competitive, fascinating Supreme, good Arkle, good competitive Arkle, a superstar potentially in the Champion Hurdle. And this is actually a manageable get out of trouble stakes in theory.
It is.
If you just find the winner.
It is, yeah.
If you just find the winner, there you go. There's the tough bit. That is the tough bit. But that's a perfect way to end the show. There you go. Simon Clare wrapping it up with aplomb. Therefore, the National Hunt Chase. We've run quite a bit of, haven't we? We spent months talking about it. It's, we've managed to fill another hour and 15 minutes. We've maybe get a bit tighter as the week goes on, and hopefully we'll be a bit more, richer tomorrow. Myself, Graeme, and Tom, of course. Simon is here as the sponsor, but also the enemy slightly.
Yeah, I'm the enemy.
You
can hate me.
Let's get the naps then. Let's get the naps for day 1 of the Cheltenham Festival 2022, starting with Tom.
Our Power. I was going to say Brazil, but I would have been tempted to sing again, so I'm going to leave that one out for Our Power.
Very well. Our Power it is. Graeme?
I really think that T Hoopu can cause an upset in the Champion Hurdle.
Okay. Simon?
I'll go for Brazil. I like Brazil. I think it's going to be a big gamble tomorrow. And I should mention a couple of other promotions from Coral. There's a free-to-play game, the Racing Super Series, 50 grand up for grabs. It's free-to-play, and you've got to find a placed horse in all 7 races for a share of that 50k. That's each day. And, of course, the fail-to-finish offer, which is from 8 a.m. tomorrow. If your horse fails to finish race, pulls up, falls on seats, you get your money back as a free bet up to £10. Those are the 2 main offers.
Okay, very well. And I'll go Curse of Bleem at the prices. I was going to go Die Side Dynamo, but 94 favourite in the first, maybe not necessarily the first nap of the week. So there you go. There's day one previewed, and of course you tune in tomorrow morning, you can tune in tomorrow afternoon, and then join us tomorrow night as well here on the Racing Post YouTube channel. Thank you to Graeme, Tom, and Simon, and thank you to everyone for watching as well. Best of luck. It's going to be a long and exciting week, and we hope you join us for the whole of it.